Hey everyone, so I want to start to share the way I created the cover of my quoted album. Last week I shared an inside spread, but I wanted to share how I kind of got this idea rolling and how I created the cover. So I took a piece of the 12 by 12 Color Collective ledger paper and I'm going to trim it down to 8.5 by 11 inches. I love 8.5 by 11-inch paper because when you fold it hot dog style, it is actually a perfectly sized album. I love using that size for my notebooks, coiled journals. It really is kind of my favorite size. So to begin, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to trim this paper down to 8.5 by 11, whichever orientation you choose. That's totally personal preference. But again, just using my trimmer and trimming it to 8.5 by 11 inches. And you can see that once we score the center, we can have two perfectly sized spreads. So that is the intention going forward with the 8.5 by 11 size. So after I have this trimmed down, I'm going to use my scoring tool to score directly down the middle at 5.5 inches. Um, I really love a scoring tool. If you don't have one in your stash, I highly recommend it. I use this tool all the time. I believe it's We Are Memory Keepers, but there are a ton of different ones. So you can see it makes a beautiful professional looking crease down the middle, which makes it super easy to fold and gives us a nice, precise place to just fold it over and then score and use your bone folder to get that nice, beautiful looking crease. Now, the way this journal is compiled is that it will be bound back to back. So you can see that on this page, I am going to adhere the cover atop the folded in layouts that I've done previous, so that once I continue adding into my book, we just add adhesive to the back page and sandwich it together to create the following pages. So I'm just trying to decide how I want my cover to be, because with double-sided paper, you always have the two options. Um, so that's always nice for some versatility. But again, this is exactly how our book is going to be compiled. It'll be done back-to-back style. So I'm going to use the current Stamp Society from Heidi Swapp. It's the April set. That one is available till May 15th. And again, this is just the set I decided to use for my cover, but you can choose any sort of stamps that you would love to have grace your cover. That is totally personal preference, but this is the set that I decided to choose. And I really just love the look of these stamps and the whole idea of it. So again, I am just going to decide which images I want. I never really have a plan when I am stamping. I kind of just go with it. I am using the Evergreen Bough Distress Oxide and also the Tattered Rose color. I really actually chose these colors based on the color collective paper that I chose. I think that's a really fun and easy way to get a coordinated look, is just utilize the colors that are on a page already, and it will really help the whole process come together. So I slightly sped up the stamping process, but you can see that I am just typically taking the larger elements from the stamp set to essentially build my background. I am using similar colors to kind of layer. Again, no real plan, I'm just experimenting, but it's a great way to get a muted background, and I will start with the lighter color on top and then probably start adding the darker evergreen bough on top once I'm done applying the stamps that I like in the Tattered Rose. So a great way to start layering is to begin with your lighter color first and then add your darker color more on top. And I love digging in my past Stop the Blur kits for little goodies, and this sticker set was from the March Stop the Blur kit, but it's a beautiful sticker strip that just says big ideas have small beginnings, and it's in the tones of my page and my album, so I'm just going to lay that on top. I love how it fits perfectly. I'm just going to sand and distress it a little bit, but that's pretty much the premise of this project, is just to have a home for my stamping ideas and quotes that I love, and I just want to start having this collection, so I thought it was more than fitting to add it onto my cover. And I am going to use these alphas to essentially add the title onto my album. I want to call it Quoted because that's kind of the direction I'm going. I want an album full of stamped quotes and favorite sayings that I've come across and have stored on my phone. I think it would be a really great idea to have a place that I can utilize them to create and also to just have as a personal collection. So, what I kind of envisioned here is to have the bold title Quoted. You could use any alpha stamp you want for this. I just chose the 6x8 Destination Alpha. And what I'm going to do is one of my favorite techniques. I love to drop shadow my stamps. So I can do this two ways. I can use a dark color at the bottom and then use a lighter color on top, or use the lighter color on the bottom and the dark color on top. So for this title, I decided to go with stamping the alphabet in the evergreen bough first and then applying my black ink on top. Either way would work, but this is just kind of what I began doing. So again, I'm just going to go with it and finish stamping the word Quoted across my page. So now that we have that somewhat complete, I am going to just add a little bit of additional stamping. I want to layer some of the stamps atop using the evergreen bough just to pop that beautiful color and finalize this cover of my book. The key I really find with using these stamps is just having fun with the layering, experimenting. There is never a right or wrong way to do it. And I often find if I just go with my gut, then I'm really happy most of the time with the outcome. And if not, well, you can always restamp and find little ways to hide little mistakes. But most of the time, I find stamping is just really beautiful no matter how it ends up. And I really just love playing and experimenting with all these fun icons. One thing I've really been loving with my stamping, I've noticed, is adding in black details. No matter the color palette I'm choosing, I always find a pop of black just brings it all together so nicely, and I'm really loving these little black definitions atop the Stamp Society elements. So again, super fun, just having some freedom here playing and experimenting, and no real plan, just letting my heart guide the way. Now to add a little bit more detail to the cover, I am using these Photo Corner sticker edges from the Color Collective set. This is the Lagoon color. It's a beautiful complement to the evergreen bough, and I found that these fun scalloped Photo Corner edges kind of just pull the cover project together. And again, super easy to apply. I'm just adding one to the top corners, and they actually really give it a book feel. So I find that once I start adding my pages and it gets a little bit thicker, it'll be really cute as a fun detail. So now that's completed, I'm just going to sand them a bit. Again, I love adding a little bit of distress. And once we are done that part, now we can start adhering our pages together. So that was an inside page, and now we can adhere it back to start completing and forming our book. The adhering part is super simple. I think this is why one of the main reasons back-to-back binding is one of my favorites, because of its simplicity, but it looks so awesome when it is all put together. I am just using this tape runner. You could use whichever adhesive you wish. I recommend Tape Runner. I'm not really a fan of liquid adhesives for these kinds of projects. So this is a tape runner from scrapbook.com, I believe, and I'm just giving it a very generous application so that once I lay my cover on top, it is nice and evenly secured. So we're just going to take the cover and again, line up those corners, the edges as best you can, and we'll just give it another line up here, corner to corner, making sure those pages are nice and aligned. We want to be super sure that we have our corners together, and then gently lay it down and smooth out the cover. You can use your brayer for this, bone folder, and there you go. We have our pages all perfectly adhered and our book is starting to take shape. So there is our inside page. I'm just using my bone folder to make sure it is nice and secure. No bubbles, no folds, no bumps, just nice and smooth how we would like it. So there you go, the beginnings of a quoted journal. So easy, so fun, and I cannot wait to get going and keep adding to this ongoing project. Keep following along, more fun stuff to come.